You talking about me there, Jeff?
I can. Dollar and triangles from the. Yeah, because that's kind of the problem now. I'm noticing that even in some of the jobs I'm doing, it's like they're trying to hurry and lock the bid in. It's like, man, how do you lock the bid in? Because it's the price of everything like.
We're ready?
Yeah.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, we'd like to welcome everybody to our Morgan City Council meeting. And we'd like to acknowledge Dave again on electronics.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate your participation. You haven't dozed off once. You've done well.
We've hung in there. It's takes a bit though to navigate these Zoom meetings. I'm pushing buttons right and left.
I'm just grateful we have Denise because we'd really be in trouble if I was trying.
She's walking me through it.
I've asked a real special friend of mine to give the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Hello there. My name is Jim Wiener. What? Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you waiting that extra half hour.
Thanks, David.
Yeah. See you, David. See you, David. Okay, Tony will lead us in a word of prayer.
Our Father in heaven, as we gather together at the beginning of our city council meeting this evening, we wish to take this opportunity which we have to express our thanks and gratitude unto thee for all of the blessings that thou hast bestowed upon us. We're thankful, Father, for the opportunity which we have of living in this beautiful valley and for the freedoms and blessings we enjoy living here, and for the opportunity which we have of serving this community and the fine people that live here. We're grateful, Father, for the moisture that we've received recently. Pray that we might continue to receive some moisture to take care of our crops and our water needs. Father, we're grateful for those who have preserved our freedoms and continue to do so. We'd ask that thou might bless and watch over those who are in the armed forces and who are in harm's way, that thou might keep them safe. And again, we're grateful for them and for the freedoms which they preserve for us. Father, we ask that as we convene here and discuss city business this night, that we might have thy spirit to be with us, to guide and direct us, that we might always do those things which are in the best interest of our community, that we might always have thy spirit to be with us to make decisions which would make our community a very good place to live, a better place to live. And that we might always act in a manner which is pleasing unto thee and which would benefit those who we serve. Again, Father, we're thankful for all of our blessings, and we ask that thou might continue to bless and watch over us. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Tony. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting's agenda?
I have a comment on that, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Okay.
So, I just read, Mr. Newton's comments about the Como Springs, and because of the timing of meetings, I don't know if it would be appropriate, but I would suggest as the city manager that maybe we add an agenda item to do a resolution. So we're unanimous and we've had an opportunity to vote on a city council to recommend to the county that we don't allow 100 South to be used as the main entrance to Como Springs. And so just as an agenda item, if it's up to you, Mayor, it's your agenda. I don't know how that works if resolution wise, but yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying like, so we can discuss it, but if we add that as amend the agenda as an action item, we could come up with the letter after the fact. But I've been thinking about that. And I don't know how.
Could we just make an amendment to that?
Well, no, because the water, yeah, that agreement isn't, this is whole separate. This wasn't even discussed. But if we just add that item as an agenda item, so we amend the agenda, add it, it doesn't have, I don't even care if it's a resolution. But we could at least discuss it as a council under an action item, and then we draft a letter that they all individually sign. Would just be a formal. Right, so so just knowing that that's a topic and the timing of meetings. That's what I'm just proposing is if you'd like to address that in a formal manner. That, yeah, amend the agenda and then if not, that's fine, but. I've just been thinking, since we talked about it, like how to best approach that at the county's conditional use process. And having something formal would,
You table it tonight and add it to the.
Well, I don't think we need to take.
it's a separate item. I'm just saying if we just add the entrance as an item, conditional use.
As an agenda item.
So it's just it's just our voice,
There,
On, so agenda item D.
yeah, there's,
just to discuss entrance of, or
and I apologize, there's been too many meetings tonight. I
Yep.
actually thought it was on the agenda. So it doesn't, I don't have a problem at all. If we add that item D,
We can't vote on it, can we?
No,
no,
No, for direction only.
only, but you could still, you can amend an agenda and vote. It's not spending any money.
So we'll just add it as item D, discussion/action. So then,
this, yeah,
it'll be an action item. You guys will make a determination of what you want. How to do.
so if there's any council members not aware, the county's, I don't know if the county's actually,
Well, we can talk about it. It's just a matter if you want to add it to the agenda or not. Like, we can talk about it as, if you add it to the agenda and
I'd
then
like to add it to the agenda, but I'd like to move it to,
D.
where are we at? I'd like to move it to A,
Move it to A and move
move
everything
it to
else
the first
down.
item, yes.
Well, so then take a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion for our agenda to add a new A and move the other three down to B, C, and D to discuss the Como entrance at 100 South.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
Okay. So we can move on. We didn't, we approved the agenda item, the meeting?
Yep.
Okay, did we also approve the work meeting of July 12th, 2022? City council meeting minutes, July 12th, 2022, and the warrants. First off is, have we had a chance to review those minutes?
Mayor,
Tony?
I will make a motion that we approve the city council work meetings of July 12th, 2022, the city council meeting minutes of July 12th, 2022, and the warrants from July 8th, 2022 to August 5th, 2022.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Tony's made a motion to accept the minutes of the city council work meeting, minutes of July 12th, 2022. The city council meeting minutes, July 12th, 2022, and the warrants for 7/08/22 to 8/05/22. All in favor?
Aye.
Any more discussion? Okay, we have 3 minutes. If you'd like to make a comment. State your name and your address.
I'm George Newton. I live at 530 Imperial Drive. You're probably wondering why I'm here. You got a piece of paper that says why I'm here. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed what was going on the county side, because it appears there's a disconnect between the city and the county. They like to do stuff that impacts us and not ask us our permission or try to coordinate things so they go well. So the developer at Como Springs has proposed a conditional use permit, and they want to increase from 40 to 72 RV trailer slots. They want a village of 24 cabins, 20 tent sites, a 9,000 square foot, 45 foot high restaurant clubhouse, plus a 35-foot high residential cabin lodge, building lodge, additional parking for 192 vehicles, and an overnight capacity of 370 people. So my concern is they want to move the main entrance into Como, everybody knows where that is, from there to the entrance on 100 South. And I want you all to remember that there's an outlet from the grade school that goes right onto 100 South. And when the school starts and ends, that street is packed with kiddos. I think it'd be irresponsible for us to allow a developer to encroach on a residential street and have that kind of traffic coming up and down on that street. So that's up to you how you interface with the county. I just thought the whole idea was stupid. So besides that, you got on the agenda B. So I'm going to give you George's philosophy. Morgan City's citizens, through their taxes, have built an infrastructure. That infrastructure is water, the sewer, and the electrical grid. And it may not have the best, but it's pretty good. And that's funded by Morgan City taxpayers. So we've got this deal going on where this company, I don't know if it's from New York City or where, and they want to tie onto our water. I think they're already tied onto the water, already tied onto the sewer, and I don't know if they're tied onto the power or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are. And I say, why are we subsidizing them? And you don't need to comment. My philosophy is if they are not in the city, then they should be forced to be annexed into the city so that we can control the development to city code and not have just a mismatch of big mess over there. And we're supplying them with, or subsidizing them with the reduced rate infrastructure, because if they had to develop their own water system, their own sewer system, and if they're using electricity, get Utah Power to come in and hook them up, it would be pretty costly. They're complaining about the bridge that goes in there. Remember, that isn't the original bridge that goes in there. When the 3Bs did the concrete on the freeway on 84, they were in there and they put that bridge in. And it'll sustain any traffic that's going in there. No, it's not 2-lane highway. They don't have to have 2-lane highway. They could use that. I don't know why they don't want to use that, but that's all I got to say. If you have any questions.
Well, thank you for your comments and your concern.
Thanks, George.
Okay, Deluxe, thanks.
Thanks, George.
Yes, Larry. For the record, just state your name and your address again.
Okay, if I can remember. Larry Johansson, 191 East, 100 South. As I was looking at a flyer that went through our neighborhood, there seemed to be only two options to use an entrance to get into Como Springs. One was to go past the fairgrounds and use the existing bridge, which they don't want to use, or to run all the traffic down State Street and then turn left and head down 100 South to go in the old back entrance to Como. And I want to propose a third option that I'm starting to find that nobody's really thought too much about. I spoke to this with Jeff and I showed Steve what I was talking about. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
But if they were to use the side apron to 84 and exit there and go down to the stop sign where you either turn left to go up to that crushing pit or you turn right and go under the tracks. And then there's the new intersection, the new road they put in there, and turn left there. If they follow the road and go over the bridge, that puts them on the side of the river they need to be on to do their construction. And then when you go head to the golf course, you don't go very far past the bridge and there's a stop sign there where East Valley, we're trying to say Como's East Valley Road connects to the Round Valley Road. And it's only about 3/10 of a mile to turn right and go from there up that road. And they could enter into the back end of Como for all their heavy construction, their traffic, their double side dumps, their workers and everything else, concrete trucks. And that eliminates all the traffic going down State Street and 100 South where you've got kids at the end of school trying to cross out here on State Street. Most traffic doesn't even stop for them. But there are crosswalks out there. So the kids are trying to negotiate to get across State Street. They're trying to negotiate to get back and forth across 100 South and 200 East. And so I saw Josh Cook, is that his name? Today, the planning and development guy for the county.
For the county.
I saw him. He turned on his computer and we looked at the maps and I showed him where that route was. He wasn't aware that that road existed back there that possibly could be used. So he said he was going to check with Brett Heiner because they had to decide whether that road was county road or private road to get from the one that goes to Round Valley and goes back behind Como. But the developer ought to like that option because he has to deal with the bridge yet. And it makes another entrance out of Como Springs Resort for all those people that are camping, whatever. They can go out that entrance on the east side and go straight to the golf course or back over the bridge and through town and don't have to go through all the residential areas. So I just wanted you to be aware of that third option. That doesn't sound like anybody's really considered, and to work with the county when they're asking for a conditional use permit to go down 100 South. I do hope you vote to deny that and tell them about this other option. Because there wouldn't be a whole lot of expense to the contractor to dump a few loads of gravel to get off that road, as you saw, Steve, and to enter Como from that direction. That's all I got.
Appreciate your comments.
Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
You're right.
Senior moment.
Mayor, Gary's trying to log on, so he may be joining us in a minute.
I don't see anybody else with a comment. Is that? Let's move to the active agenda. So this would be item B instead of A. water conveyance and development agreement between Morgan City, Como Springs Resort LLC and Grande Real Estate, resolution 2234. Is there any discussion on this, or do we want to make a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2234?
Well, were we gonna
We're gonna
discuss
talk
more
about
about the Como entrance?
The 100
Did we
South
move
entrance?
that on our agenda?
I thought we bumped that up to the
Up to
first.
A?
Oh, yeah, I forgot to discuss that. didn't I? Okay, let's discuss that. And the mayor has a little comment about it. I think there's been some misconception or information that the city has sort of given permission to use 100 South or
We haven't, have we?
we haven't.
Okay.
no.
Good.
But you know how things go. I did go look at that with Larry and it seems like it could be a fairly reasonable entrance. So my input is the bridge, the reason, Lance, maybe you can comment on this. The reason that bridge that enters into Como now is probably not capable of handling dump trucks and big equipment to go over to cross the river.
I think there's under a 5-ton rating on it. I've pulled a big house trailer across it once and it was scary, but I don't even think it has a 5-ton rating. We probably could, if you were interested, look up the bridge on UDOT stuff and find the actual information. All that stuff is available online, ratings and conditions and all that from their biannual inspections.
Okay, so my wandering mind is, it's not a wandering mind, it's a wondering mind about this development. And if in the future, there's bridge talk about it to enter the way they enter now. If we proceed, even if we do that back entrance coming off of, instead of going to Round Valley, turning right, and coming up a third of a mile, and you can get across there. It's where if you're familiar with the area, it's where the no trespassing sign is. And it is a fairly light grade right there. But is there going to be a need for a bridge in the future of this development? And so I'm thinking we put the horse before the cart and possibly look at doing the bridge first. So not we, but they.
Wouldn't that be the county's call though?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess the question would be, is the bridge privately owned or is it county owned?
Private.
Yeah. The developer, I listened to the original planning commission meeting when it was originally considered, and the developer had no desire, and I think he stated it to the county council to complete a bridge. In part, well, and the cost was a factor. You know, I guess some concern would be if 100 South were used as the main ingress and egress. Ultimately, that bridge will be condemned. It'd be my suspicion. Where it's privately owned, it's not likely unless something were, and again, the county's call, unless something were required up front, it's not likely that anything more would happen to it, in my mind.
My question is, and by the way, I agree with Mr. Newton on this. I think that would put an awful lot of traffic on 100 South. But my question is, if we did not specify that we did not want that traffic on 100 South, however we specified that in an agreement or whatever, there would be nothing that we could do to stop them from using that. Isn't that a public road? So
Where it comes into 100 South, is that city
or 100 South City.
Well, how far up? Where do we turn?
Turns
Luke
into
City?
county right there.
Are you asking me?
Sure. I'm just sitting here looking at Google Earth thinking, where does city, do we have a say in it?
Sure. So Mayor, if you,
Yes.
if I can respond. So 100 South is a public street. They own the access, the road that tees or Wise from
Runs
there.
off of it.
They own that all the way down. And then they own the other side. So I apologize for the curveball on the agenda, but that's why I wanted to amend the agendas, because I've been just wrestling with what's the best way for us to communicate this to the county. So the agreement that we have is all utilities. It's all of our conditions on utilities, but this is really a planning land use decision, which is all county, right? So if that's our desire that they use the current access, then
Talk about the bridge.
the bridge, yep, that's always been there. The signage is that way. You know, when you come off, it still says Como, left turn right on Commercial Street, right? They've enjoyed that signage forever, right? I think if that's the direction we want to go, and what I'm saying is as an agenda item, if we can say we've discussed as a unified body, then it prevents it just from saying, well, the mayor came over, or Lance came over, or Ty came over to the county process and said, hey, we don't like this, we don't like this. But if we take a united, whether it's a letter that we've all signed, I think that that's probably an effective way to hit the county's radar instead of just residents saying, oh, I don't want this in my backyard, right? What we say is, never once has this come up. Never once has it been proposed, never once has the question been asked of the city, but that development shouldn't have a negative impact on the city, right? And that's what we've tried to do with the utilities. We've structured it in a way that it won't have a negative impact. But access could undo the whole, I mean, that could be a game changer. The other thing is, we did not allow the water line or sewer to be attached to the bridge for the same reason. They have to go under the river because the bridge isn't adequate it hasn't been designed for, or, you know, to carry infrastructure across it. But anyway, that's just where I'm coming from. It's a total county decision. It's a county process, but we should enter in, if that's your desire as a council, we can draft a letter. We can recognize the public meeting in which it was discussed, and then make an official appear, you know, and then, and I don't mind if it's me or the mayor, whoever, if that letter is intact, we need to participate in that approval process and speak on behalf of the governing body of Morgan City. That's just.
So Ty, you know, I don't know if this is a conflict or not, but I live on 100 South, so there's going to be a bias for sure. It's not economic or financial by any means, but I would feel strongly that it's not that the 100 South isn't used as the main entrance and exit. I'd like to pursue what you propose there, and would suggest that we do that. And like to hear from any other council members, but and maybe see from Gary what's the strongest statement that we could make that would, if that's our consensus, that it not be used as such.
I got a comment, and trying to think how I want to wordsmith this. So if we don't really have any leverage on this, so to speak, other than, would you please do this, county? Would you please not use 100 South? Would the only leverage we have be that if we did not grant this water conveyance and development agreement until they agreed not to use 100 South? Sounds like, I know what it sounds like, but I'm just saying that
I think that'd be a Gary question. I'm not sure that you could do that. That's
Oh, I'm
probably,
not either, Dave. I
Yeah.
agree with you. It's a legal question, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Or that, I don't know that we necessarily need leverage. I haven't been at those meetings process wise, but just the fact that the school doesn't have an adequate parent drop off right there makes it a larger public safety concern. That is a very busy, I mean, we have a crossing guard there, right? So it's and it's not adequate. There's nothing in that road design is even for that sort of a function, right? Like a parent drop off, like it's, so anyway, I don't know how far the discussion's gone, but, we could probably voice it however you want as a council, and using it as leverage isn't just saying, you know, we're, I don't know that you can cross the two.
I think a statement from the city would send a clear message, a strong message. I think they would pay attention to it, even though it may not be legal or well, it could, it may not be binding, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
yeah, I realize what I was suggesting may not be legal. I mean, I don't know, but I guess I'm thinking we could pass this tonight and then, and I'm not saying this would happen, but I guess there would really be nothing we could do to stop them from using 100 South. Is that a fair statement?
Well, it depends on what the county decides. I mean, they're the ones that'll have to grant the permission or not.
Well, it's conditional use, so they can put whatever conditions
Yeah.
they need to, and they need to consider negative impacts,
Yeah, they
include the city and the school.
may not be able to mitigate, if you will, that negative impact.
What's that?
I've done dozens of jobs in different cities where they designate where I can go, to do the job.
Has to go all the way around this.
Would that include like safety reasons?
Safety reasons, damage the road's not capable of taking that kind of abuse, stuff like that.
They don't contribute.
Mayor, Gary's on the meeting now. If you have any questions.
Welcome,
for him.
Gary.
He's gonna have to unmute.
You'll have to unmute.
Or somebody's gotta unmute him.
Yep, I'm unmuted. Hello there.
Thanks for joining us. Have you been in on any of this conversation in the last 5 minutes?
I apologize, but I was not able to connect up to you or with you and just barely have caught on to what you were talking about. So I'm standing on the end of a dock down here and I think I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, so
My apologies.
oh, welcome. Thanks for going out of your way to join us.
You bet.
Have you kind of heard what we've been discussing about the traffic on 100 South for the construction and development of Como Springs Resort?
You know what? I caught the tail end of it where Jeff was talking a little bit about the fact that there's some control that the city has over what goes on down there, but I'm not sure of what's going on down there. I'm sorry. I'm coming in a little blind.
So the question the council has is, it's a public road. But because of the impact that might happen with that construction, we put this put this on the agenda for the development of Como Springs and them using 100 South the way to enter and exit while they're in construction.
Well, no, it'd be for the whole time.
For the whole time.
Yeah, the entirety of the project in perpetuity.
Resort people going in and out that way.
Oh, I'm
yeah.
under the impression it was under construction. So what
No.
what probably is an item is that bridge isn't sufficient, and for heaven's sakes, we know how much bridges are.
Yeah.
And there's been a comment of of an entrance into Como that would come farther east on 100 South? Does that still go to 100 South, even though it turns county there? Where they could have an entrance there rather than go up 100 South. I was just under the impression that it was during construction, but yeah. So that's not a very good story or an explanation of it, but
So Gary, what we're
So-
considering, Ty brought up an idea that if the council were so inclined, preparing a statement of some sort, whether it be a letter, a resolution, or something that we could hand to the county. This sits in the county, so they have to approve the conditional use permit. But
All right.
something that we could hand to them that would voice an objection to the 100 South as their main entrance and exit.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be an appropriate way to do it. It can either be done informally. Ty, have you had conversations with the county at all on this? You know?
No, so Gary, just Mayor, if I may, I'm practicing.
yeah.
That's what attorneys do, Ty. We practice.
Yeah, I'm practicing.
Never get it right.
Going through the mayor, but so at the beginning of the meeting, I saw the public comment, and when they, on our agenda, when they approved of the meeting's agenda, I interjected and proposed that we add this as a discussion item. So we added this as a discussion item to the active agenda. And now we're to that discussion item. So the question is what are we allowed to do as far as taking a formal action? What are our
Oh,
options?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this is in the county's conditional use permit process. So it isn't something that has been on our radar. We've been talking infrastructure, and we have an agreement to do water, sewer, and power that we're currently doing, but build it to our standard, transfer us water rights. We have that agreement on our agenda, and that's all put together, but this access is a second issue. And what we'd like to do is make a statement to the county as one of the conditions of their conditional use permit, to keep the same current, the signage and the historic entrance, keep it the same and stay out of the city, minimal impact to the city, stay out of the neighborhood, stay off of 100 South. That also functions as a parent drop off and pick up to the elementary school. So what's our option?
And that's a good point, Gary. The 100 South is entirely residential with a significant school crossing, as well as the other crossing is on State Street that would have the same traffic would have to go past that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. Your option, of course, in order to have a resolution on the agenda and to make a decision on it, it would have had to be an item that would be before you. The resolution would have to be before you, and you'd have to have it as an item on your agenda, which you could do as early as 24 hours before the meeting. So a formal resolution probably isn't going to make it, because it sounds like it's something that needs to happen right away. Is that correct?
Right.
I mean, if there's when is the conditional use hearing, do you know?
The
When are they hearing?
Yeah, the county sent it back to the planning commission, and I noticed that their next meeting, which is Thursday, has been canceled. So I'm not sure. It may be in 2 weeks when they do the next one. But we haven't seen the county council agenda. That's coming up next week, and I don't know whether that's an item on there or not, because it hasn't been.
I would think it would be very appropriate to do a letter from the council signed by the mayor, just indicating that this is a major concern that you have. And is that what you were thinking of doing? Anyway, Ty and Mayor and council?
just saying that it was discussed
Mhm.
and approved and then signed by the mayor. So we can reference that it was actually brought up in a meeting and
In your public meeting, yeah.
a public
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, you might use terms like, that there's a major concern that the negative effects cannot be that there's no conditions that can be imposed that would mitigate the negative effects of changing that access. Because that's really what we're saying. I mean, you residential neighborhoods that it's going to go through and then you've also got the historical aspect of it is what I'm hearing as well. But the main thing is the neighborhood, and there's no way to mitigate the negative effects of that. And that's really what conditional uses are designed to do. I mean, that's what I'd state. I'd state that very clearly in a letter signed by the mayor on behalf of the mayor and city council.
It's good advice.
So we
And
do.
specifically use that wording.
Mhm.
I can send you a reference to the conditional use provisions of the state code, but they're supposed to be able to somehow mitigate the negative impacts of that. And so we ought to put that wording in there as well.
I think that's what we should do.
Do we just move forward? We don't need a motion for that.
Well, it's
No,
Yeah, it's not a
No.
motion.
You know,
no, you discussed it, and
Yeah.
I think there's a consensus, and
Yeah. Oh.
and you can always ratify it at the next meeting if they happen to, if they want you to do it by resolution or something of that nature. But I think a letter is more than adequate. They can't ignore that. So
Lance?
If I can just add real quick, I've been sitting here every mapping app I can find to give directions. Every single one of them directs you off of I-84 up Commercial Street. So we still have no impact. I mean, honestly, I might almost argue that Commercial Street is a worse place to send all this traffic rather than 100 South. Instead of taking you up the frontage road, it's directing you up Commercial Street, which isn't. So either way, we still are receiving a negative impact. And I actually did look up and find it does show that bridge as a privately owned bridge. And it was built in 1925. It actually does have a good rating on the deck and a fair rating on the structure and substructure, but it doesn't give a weight rating on the UDOT bridge deal. So maybe it's not as bad of condition as what we are thinking. But anyways, like I said, I just wanted to point out that either way, we're still being impacted on what's turned into one of our busiest streets with a lot of people with RVs and motorhomes and a lot of extra traffic. So
Lance, couldn't the traffic though be directed along the access road that's the one way coming in next to the freeway?
it could be, but for your average traveler getting off the freeway following their mapping app, that's not where it's taking them. It's taking them up Commercial Street. So your average new traveler coming into town that isn't familiar there. And I've looked up several mapping apps and all of them direct you up Commercial Street.
But you had some signage there that was pretty clear.
Yeah.
That's the need of that second exit, huh? Onto
People don't read signs
Frontage road.
anyways.
Mhm. So
Okay, so what, I
what
think,
would you like?
I think we've got
Oh,
our
I'm sorry, Mayor.
instructions, what to do. Okay, Gary. Sorry. to
Um,
interrupt you.
No, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. I did exactly what I told everybody we shouldn't do. So anyway, what, I'm kind of getting mixed signals after hearing from Lance. So is the idea that we don't want it to go down Main Street and we don't want it to go down 100 as well? Like both of those? We want those options to be off the table?
I think, right now, whatever traffic goes to Como would actually go on the commercial street. So come off the exit under the bridge and turn to Commercial Street, which makes it difficult if you've got an RV behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened all week.
Yeah.
But I think the frontage road, if there was signage and awareness that you can go straight and then to the resort, it would be more feasible, but yeah, thinking about the residential and then the commercial on Commercial Street, it's both kind of a,
Wouldn't you want to send them past your businesses though?
yeah, I would rather send them past businesses than,
That was my thought too.
the biggest concern is the drop off and pickup of school kids twice a day. And there's no pull off. They just pull, on the side of the curb and gutter and let the kids out kind of thing. So it doesn't have a lot of extra space for. So I'd rather push it through commercial, but.
Yep.
With all due respect to what Lance would say, then I understand your concern with commercial. I do. It's pretty congested. But if I was a business owner on Commercial Street, I may appreciate that traffic or increased traffic and visibility.
No, I agree. I still think that's the way to go. I would just kind of,
Yeah.
there's a negative effect either way. And I
We're
think is,
impacted any which they go
no
there.
matter how they go, we're
That's-
impacted. I think as far as the construction, as Councilmember Wardell mentioned, I think it may be worth mentioning your letter, if there's the ability, as has been mentioned, to maybe get another access into backside of
resort.
Como for construction, that we do want to keep construction traffic off of Commercial Street. And I've been on a lot of jobs where you have a route that you follow into and out of jobs. We don't want the truck traffic on Commercial Street if that other access was a possibility. So
I still think you need to make that road a two-way road.
Okay,
I do.
do we have any more discussion on this item?
We'll just direct you, Mayor, and Ty to draft a letter then.
I think that's what I'm understanding, which,
Okay.
With Gary's help, so the
Yes.
language.
I'd be happy to help with that.
Yeah, great.
okay,
Yeah, well,
Sounds good.
we'll move on to item B.
Thanks, George, for shining a light on that.
Yes, thank you very much. Item B, water conveyance and development agreement between Morgan City, Como Springs Resort LLC and Granda Real Estate, Resolution 2234. Is there a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2234?
I could go in and explain that a little bit, how it works with changing the water rights, their water stuff for George and stuff.
Yes.
Take a minute.
Mayor, so, yeah, this has been talked in several meetings before. That's why they're like, should we give the summary again? So this is a agreement that we've been going back and forth for over a year and a half, I think, once we did the will serve letter. But basically transfers water rights which are better than shares in a company. They're the water rights from Como to the city in order to allow them to connect to the city water system. The engineer has gone through the design with them to make sure that it meets city standards and that all the protections are in place for backflow prevention, master meter. And then there's actually an advantage to the city because we'll be looping the water system from one side of town to the other. So at the end of 100 South, it's a dead end line. At the end of Commercial Street, it's a dead end line. And by tying those together, if we have a water problem on one, we can feed it from the other. So, and we can also balance pressure from one side of town to the other. So it enhances the water system. And then, of course, Mason's been through all of the details of the contract, and we've talked about those earlier. And then it includes sewer and power, which we're already currently providing, but just builds them all to city standards. Just a point of clarification, those rates are a county rate and not a resident rate. So the infrastructure is paid by ratepayers. We don't subsidize our infrastructure or those utilities with tax money. It's all ratepayer. So every fund, the sewer rate covers the cost of the sewer system. The water rate covers the cost of the water system. And we've done a really good job keeping that up where we don't transfer money between funds. If we do transfer money, it's in a loan that gets repaid from one utility to the other. And so just kind of that point of clarification of what we're proposing. And so that's what the agreement is. That's what it does. Separate from this conditional use. It's one of the conditions that they had to meet was they had to answer the infrastructure questions. But you know, that's second to the land use and the access. We'll address that through letter. So.
You know, I might,
Did all the infrastructure.
Mhm.
They don't pay a premium rate lived around in the county for the water.
Correct.
let me add just a little bit too to what Ty said for George and Larry, if he's still there, but in our work session, and I'd maybe invite you to go back and when you get home, review that on the YouTube, but there was quite a bit of discussion about the agreement. A couple of takeaways that came from that I think are important. One is the city passed an ordinance in January that has since states that any new construction outside of our boundaries will not be approved by the city. It's important to note that this work here started a year and a half ago. So if they would have come along since the first of the year, we wouldn't even be having the discussion here, unless there was an annexation. That's the requirement of the city. The second thing that I think was a nice takeaway from our work session was the agreement that the attorney, Ty referenced Mason Care, came up with. He's been very thorough in protecting the city and mitigating risks to the city. When the day is done, you read through the agreement there, and it's clear that the developer is paying for everything. It's so to not be a burden to the city. Including the granting of the water shares and all of the infrastructure. So I think that's important to note. It even lists attorney fees and that for drawing up the agreement, the developers having to take care of that. So they are paying their way. It's probably as it is. If we are going to go ahead with it, it has been well thought out and well done.
That brings up a question in my mind. So Ty, let's say hypothetically, and I hate hypotheticals, but let's say hypothetically we had a zone that was, what do you want to call it, recreation resort? I don't know, something that would fit into. Would we have that at that point have required an annexation?
We could have entertained one. I couldn't answer. We would have said apply And then we would have gone through that process, but had we, would we have or not, I have no idea because that's the process, right? But one thing we would have is just like this conditional use process, we would have had our own set of standards to apply against the application.
Sure.
And I'm not sure at that point we would have had that figured out either, because you don't anticipate all of the issues, but during the process of annexation, we would have held all the cards and stronger than the conditional use. That's something we would have had to work through if they could have met those conditions for annexation. But hypothetically, where we are today, yes. If somebody wants service outside of the city, we require them to request annexation.
So
Back then, it wasn't our
moving forward,
practice.
if the city developed a zone
Mhm.
that,
We could entertain it.
we could still go to Como and say we would enter, would they have to bring that annexation request to us, or could we actually,
Yeah, they would have to.
because we're servicing that development, could we initiate that annexation? That's a question for you, Gary.
Yeah, so, good question, excellent question. And currently, the annexation statute, we put in a provision 102418 that allows for unilateral annexation on the part of the city if you're annexing an island, part of an island or a peninsula, and that's very broad. That could be just about anything that would and should come into the city. And if you have serviced it for a year or more with municipal services. So you can initiate it yourself. You don't have to wait for their petition.
Okay.
So it really is up to you as to when you want to annex it. And it may be that you want to put into place proper zoning so that when it is annexed in, that that they meet the zoning requirements and that type of thing. But it's your timetable.
Where we have serviced that property with sewer for several years. That would fit into that criteria.
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and now you're servicing it with water, right?
Mhm.
We will be.
Will be.
Maybe.
Yeah,
We
it
are.
will be.
We don't do power.
We
do
don't. We do power, we don't do water.
We do power. Oh, I see. It was Rocky Mountain.
So
Here, just a final point. I did look up, the will serve letter was September of 2019. So time flies when we're making a mess of things, but it sounded like we almost flip-flop positions, but I just bring that up just today. This annexation discussion wasn't even on our radar at the time. And we had at the time been serving people in the county without that annexation discussion. So it's not a lot of it is just the timing. It wasn't even a topic at the time. So we've now solidified that and we are working on zoning and whatnot. And just a final point is there still is this incentive of rates why someone would want after the fact to annex into the city. So at whatever scale they're operating, if they ever do say, hey, this is ridiculous, I want a city rate, then we say, okay, let's talk. It's not just we already have city services. There's always an incentive to get, maybe it's fiber internet, maybe it's better city rates, maybe it's to snowplow up to a certain point. Those sort of things are still out there. So, yep.
Ty, what did Mason call the rate? It was, it had a special name, but basically was a rate higher than what you would pay if you were part of the city.
Yeah,
is
he
it
had
extraterritorial?
Extraterritorial, bingo. That's it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I, what's the principle there, Gary? Or we're allowed to charge a higher rate because of that? Because he's not part of.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really up to the city what it charges, because then it's just an arm's length transaction between the city and an individual. Just the same as two private parties at that point, instead of being a citizen within the city where everybody has to be charged the same rate
Yeah.
if they're in the same position, receiving the same benefit.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, then they have agreed to the higher rate.
Yeah, I don't think it's a choice, really. To agree, or if they want the service, they would have to pay that rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the water concert conveyancy and the development agreement between Morgan City, Como Springs Resort LLC, and Granda Real Estate Resolution 2234.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion by Jeff for the water conveyance and development agreement between Morgan City, Como Springs Resort LLC, and Granda Real Estate, Resolution 2234, and a second by Eric. All in favor
Aye.
or any opposed?
I had a comment, but I could.
Did I hear a aye?
Or do you have a comment?
I had a comment, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm just not sure I heard Dave on the vote.
Yes, in favor.
Okay. Tony?
Oh, just my comment was and so we are going to draft a letter and send a letter to the county strongly suggesting that we stay off of 100 South. Okay.
Good.
Yeah, but that's not a,
Well, that's not part of the resolution, I know,
Yes.
but it was just a comment.
yes. Okay, item C, bid award, Deer Hollow Retention Basin Reconstruction Project, Resolution 2235. Is there a motion and a second to adopt the resolution? I think we had a good chat about it in the work meeting. Is there any more discussion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we pass the Deer Hollow Retention Basin Reconstruction Project Resolution 22-35.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, Eric, we have a motion to the bid award, the Deer Hollow Retention Basin Reconstruction Project, Resolution 2235, with, I believe, Jeffrey was the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it was unanimous. Item D. Oh. I don't think we need a roll call on that one. Right?
Well, it's budgeted,
Budgeted.
it's finance, it's money.
If it's in your budget, you're okay.
Okay, Eric,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Jeffrey,
Aye.
Jeff, Jeffrey,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, Denise. That's right, there is a bid, isn't there? Okay, item D, First Amendment to the interlocal cooperation agreement between Morgan City Redevelopment Agency and Morgan City dated November 13th, 2018, resolution 2236. Is there a motion or a discussion before the motion?
Mayor, considering our previous discussion in the work meeting, I'd move to approve Resolution 22-36, a resolution adopting and approving the First Amendment to the interlocal cooperation agreement between Morgan City Redevelopment Agency and Morgan City Corporation dated November 13th, 2018.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dave for the First Amendment to the interlocal cooperation agreement between Morgan City Redevelopment Agency and Morgan City dated November 13th, 2018, resolution 2236. Do we have a second?
Tony seconded.
Tony did.
Tony already did.
I did.
And Tony, it's getting late. Tony. Tony seconded that motion. Is there any more discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dave, was you and I?
Yes, in favor.
Okay, all in favor there. Let's move to item 5. Ty, can you bring us up to date on projects and? It's been there's a few
Yes.
items there, so it's awesome.
There's always a few items. I'm waiting for one of these. Like Denise said, these are the same projects we've been talking about for the last 6 months. They're all supposed to be done by now. So we're getting close.
We're getting there.
Getting there. So, train depot, that, project's going well. They're doing the flooring and painting this week. All the concrete is done. Just handrails are left. And, anyway, it's looking really good. I'm pretty excited to have that one wrap up. Our basement is pretty well done. If you'd like to walk through it, you can go, you can walk through that. The next step is just the entrance over here, the vestibule where the settling occurred. They're gonna start on that probably next week. But they just wanted to wrap up the whole basement before they started that one. Looks good.
There's an open house.
Yep.
What did she tell me it was? The
31st.
You got a flyer.
Yep. They're gonna start moving in. I think the 15th was when their furniture and stuff should start arriving. Just a little bit of touch-up work left to do, and
It's got the fridge and the microwave, right?
yep, the microwave's down there. The fridge gets delivered on the 15th. In the new break room that they have down there. So, anyway, that's exciting. Looks good. There's a lot of work and really no major delays, other than the sign. So that's something else, is the sign out front was the only major delay, and that's in September before we get that. Just so you know. What else? Commercial street realignment. We talked about the relocation of the utilities that we've done that. Now we're just paying our portion to Lumen. I think Utopia's already, weren't they out there today pulling wire, Lance?
Yeah, they laid their conduit. They had a little bit of boring that they needed to do, and I think they were planning on, as soon as they were done boring, getting their wire pulled in and getting service to the bus garage.
And then next thing is just our power. We can eliminate that pole, but we have some time. So the bridge project, we're in the process right now of doing the ARPLOC. I don't know what that stands for, but it's basically selecting a construction management company. We just received 3 proposals. And so I think on Thursday I have a call to select the construction management company, and they'll put it out to bid and collect the bids. And then they also do the oversight during construction. So they're they do all the pay requests and make sure that everything's done according to design. So moving forward, it feels like slow, but it's coming along. Then, so I just received the appraisal. It came in at $170,000. I just got that this afternoon, so we'll send that to North Morgan Water Users Association, and then they can either accept it or decide to get their own appraisal at that point. So Denise, do you have a comment? Yes, did I skip it? Oh, I did. Sidewalk project. The pavement is underway. And then Lance, if you want to do any other comment, I heard that we got mud that we can finish out the sidewalk this week?
The paving was finished today. They have promised the contractor concrete Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, which should basically put it done. And maybe just a couple other little sections. We added just a little bit of sidewalk at the corner of 200 East and 100 North to clean up a kind of a bad little pedestrian thing. Just while we're there, it was good to do a little extra, but as soon as we're done with that, he's going to move on to the landscaping. He's hoping to be buttoned up in about 2 weeks with the gravel, the landscaping, everything.
Awesome. So hopefully all of our last year's projects are almost done. And I just did a little math just, for reference, but on these projects, we received $986,556 in grants. So almost $1 million, of which our match was 320,000. So where we have had an increase in budget of 320,000, we've turned that 320,000 into almost $1 million. So next year, our Trails grant is on a 50-50. We have, so our portion 78,000 and we have a grant for 78,000 to finish the trail. And so that's the good news. The bad news is that we've spent about 860. Anyway, I should have looked it up. I apologize, but out of the capital improvement, the bridge money, we've spent about 860,000 of bridge money getting the commercial street realignment and the utilities. And so we won't know until after it goes to bid how much that saved us by pulling that, but most of that work wasn't anticipated as part of the bridge project in the beginning. And so we're, financially, I think we're doing fairly well for as much stuff as we're getting. Stuff, if you want to call it stuff.
When
We're getting a lot done.
does the bridge go to bid, Ty?
It should this fall go to bid. So that's when you get hopefully better pricing
Yeah.
and once we have that bid amount, we'll know exactly. Another just side note on the bridge is we did put in for another I think $2.5 million for gap funding, they call it, basically earmark from the federal process, and that has been approved in the House. So the House has finished their budget. They have their proposal and our project is included in that budget. So when the Senate comes back with their budget and they combine the two, it's just a matter of if the Senate agrees to what the House has proposed. So it's not a slam dunk by any means, but we're further along in that process than we've ever been. And that'll be a huge boost to fund the rest of the bridge where the grant was capped at 2 million. So,
Would this be the state senate?
no, the federal. Yep. So Senator Moore, Representative Blake Moore has been helping us through that process and they had 40 different projects, and then we made it into the top 10. They did a narrowing and a selection, and so they're supportive and understand the huge deal to us, but in the whole scheme of the state and federal project. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I just wanted to update you that there's still a chance that gets funded. At the end of the year, we'll know. So
I have a little information for the council. That through the ICMA, International City Managers Association, Ty has become an ICMA credentialed. Did I say that right? Credentialed manager. Great accomplishment. Appreciate
Well done.
your efforts.
So thank you. I was not gonna, there's a certificate at some point, so.
But I also have a letter. that I don't know if it was there.
I was looking like,
Um,
I don't do my own emails.
Want me to read it?
Yeah. Thanks, Lance.
Okay, stand up, Ty. Every time, oh, yeah.
Wish the
Oh,
newspaper
yeah,
was
we're
here.
doing the whole thing because, you know,
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. This is a really big deal. So this is from ICMA. It says Ty Bailey, City Manager of Morgan City, recently received the credentialed manager designation from ICMA. That's the International City/County Management Association. Mr. Bailey is one of over 1,300 local government management professionals currently credentialed through the ICMA Voluntary Credentialing Program. ICMA's mission is to advance professional local government through leadership, management, innovation, and ethics, and by increasing the proficiency of appointed chief administrative officers, assistant administrators, and other employees who serve local governments and regional entities around the world. The organization's 13,000 members in 27 countries also include educators, students, and other local government employees. To receive the prestigious ICMA credential, a member must have significant experience as a senior management executive in local government, have earned a degree, preferably in public administration or related field, and demonstrated a commitment to high standards of integrity and long life learning and professional development. Ty Bailey is qualified by his years of professional local government executive experience. And prior to Ty's appointment in 2017 as the city manager of Morgan City, he served as city manager of Monticello, Utah. Did I get that right? Ty serves on many committees and has made a significant contribution to a number of organizations and a huge contribution to Morgan City. A little bit about ICMA. The International City County Management Association advances professional local government worldwide. The organization's mission is to advance professional local government through leadership, management, innovation, and ethics. ICMA identifies leading practices to address the needs of local governments and professionals serving communities globally. We believe services, research, publications, data and information, peer and results-oriented assistance, and training and professional development to thousands of city, town, county leaders, and other individuals and organizations throughout the world. The management decisions made by ICMA's members affect millions of people living in thousands of communities, ranging in size from small towns to large metropolitan areas. Congratulations, Ty.
Yeah.
Well done, Ty.
We got you an extra cinnamon roll last night.
Yeah, so I did not see that one. I had way too many words.
Okay, just for our information here, everybody got a flyer for the grand opening. And Denise, will you introduce our opportunity?
Okay, we, as Morgan City, we have a great opportunity to have a national keynote speaker come to Morgan City. And he spoke at my association's conferences for the last couple of years. He's very entertaining and energetic, and he's going to come and have a 2-hour seminar for Morgan City here at Morgan City. And we're going to have lunch afterward. It'll be on August 23rd from 10 to noon. And then we'll bring in lunch, and I want to invite the council, your wives, and the planning commission. And then we've sent out an invitation to all the city employees, and Wanda did put required on it. So he's, what's that?
Where's it gonna be held?
It's going to be held right here.
Oh, in the
Mhm.
council room?
Yep, it'll be right in here. And this is what the advertisement that he sent me, it says more better at Morgan City. It says more better teams, culture, connections, and yes, even a more better you. We've engaged an internationally renowned speaker, master storyteller, and best-selling author to come to Morgan City and share an inspirational and actionable insights on how we can become more better. We don't need to know better what to do. We just need to do better at what we already know. And what if there were 3 simple mental models and methods that could help you do just that? You don't have to wait until you are sick before you get better. Come to Morgan City's More Better event and you can start getting more better, more sooner, more intentionally and more often. This is a don't miss day and one that will be treasured and remembered for years to come. So mark your calendars and come and get more better. And he's awesome. He's an amazing speaker.
I'm excited for it.
What day of the week is that, Denise?
What's that, Dave?
What day of the week?
August 23rd. Yeah, it's a Tuesday. So it's a council meeting day, but it's from 10 to noon.
Yep.
Great. Look forward to it.
Denise and the staff for the city dinner last night. Fun to see everybody. I hope we can get everybody healthy, keep everybody healthy. Had a run on it, but thank you for allowing us to rub shoulders and be with the city employees. That was a fun night.
It's on my wife, Denise. So,
Yeah. Thanks for coming. It was fun. We were a little short on some staff, but we appreciate the support.
It's a good thing. I just want to personally thank everybody involved in this meeting to get me through this. I had great anxiety over all these meetings and everything. So thank you very much and adjourned.
go home and accept it.
Home and have supper.
See everybody.
Have a good week, Dave.
Hey, keep
Thank
getting
you.
better.
Keep getting better. Good luck, Dave.
Thank you, gentlemen. I look forward to joining you.
Positive vibe.